What up? FCC Magazine here. I'm here, James Zieff. He's my boy in Denver. I came all the way to Denver. Sebi had some stuff that he needed to do here. Really cool using the STEM program. And while I was doing that, I wanted to meet James. I met James through Facebook, and he's into foreign stuff. And he's probably, I would say, a second generation foreign collector. We had a blast today going to different comic book stores, and it was interesting. How would you say that went?
And not very well for you with the foreign stuff because Denver is a pretty dried up market. It hasn't ever been a good market for foreigns. At least I should say it hasn't been a good market yet. Yeah,
we experienced some interesting stuff. So I came through it through Pueblo, and found a decent stack of foreigns in Pueblo. Came up to Denver, hit up a couple comic book stores, had no luck whatsoever. And then today James was nice enough to take me to a couple different stores. Probably one of the biggest stores. What was that store in?
Well, I Want More Comics up in Thornton, Colorado.
Yeah, I Want More Comics was a cool place.
On the north side of the metro area. And then I believe they call themselves Colorado Coins, Comics, and Cards out in Arvada.
In Arvada. And
both had great, big, large amounts of back issues of U.S. comics. Almost, probably next to nothing foreign in either one. There's a few things that I want more. The biggest thing that they had were a bunch of
so you don't get to the microphone to your hands.
One of the things they had a large group of the British
UK Marvels.
The UK Planet of the Apes.
Planet of the Apes, and they had a few
large
UK
selection
Marvels.
of the Planet of the Apes, but that was the only large group. Everything else was one here or there, a couple random things that were somewhat interesting.
Yeah, they were interesting. They were like French titles I didn't recognize. They weren't necessarily American or DC, but they were interesting, and it was cool to see them.
Yeah, it's always fun to see something.
Yeah, but for the most part, we would walk up, and James would introduce me to the people that he knows, and I would say, well, I'm interested in foreign comics, and they would look at me like I was, excuse my language, fucking crazy.
Yeah. And I brought it up with several of them in the past, and just to make sure they know that there is some interest, and most of the time they don't see any. The few times they do see some, it's something very random. I bought I think it was a Finnish X-Men from I Want More a while ago, but almost nothing else. A couple of pence copies here and there of standard American comics, but nothing exciting.
There was nothing key, nothing. I was kind of real surprised. Why don't we show some of your books that you're proud of?
I don't know where to start.
We'll start with this. You can start with these, and then we'll move on to the stuff that you showed me earlier. He's got a bunch of Greek classics illustrated.
I've got a bunch of the Greek classics illustrated, actually in Greek, which are helpful if you're trying to learn the alphabet or potentially the language. There's several here. This one's the Aeneid from the sequel to the Odyssey, I believe.
Those are cool.
This one's about Hercules.
I don't recognize that.
Thermopylae. This is Thermopylae. So it's a story of, I think, the 300 originally. Yeah. This is the Odyssey itself, and then this is Icarus. I can't remember his dad's name. Daedalus. Daedalus and Icarus is the title of this book. It's all about them. I have here a German Joan of Arc, and a couple more Greek Superman books. Officially, the titles are DC Comics Presents Superman, and both of these are...
Did those come from Gabe?
No, from
Kyriakos?
So did the
Kyriakos.
So did the Classics Illustrateds. They came from Kyriakos as well.
Oh, nice.
And both of these I have because the Phantom Stranger is in the storylines. This is a fairly recognizable cover from Justice League of America, and actually they both are, but this one definitely strikes more people as recognizable than I actually have at least one other version of this book in the stack somewhere.
That's cool. Yeah, Kyriakos is a good seller.
Have some German Superman books mixed throughout the stack here.
There's an Aussie.
This one is relatively new. It's from it's Post-Crisis on Infinite Earths book, the very famous Darkseid cover from the U.S. comics. This is actually something from the 70s that was redone. This other one.
Is that Dutch?
Norwegian.
Norway.
Norwegian magazine, a Phantom Stranger copy. Also Norwegian. The Phantom, as in the Ghost Who Walks, from the guy in purple. But that particular issue has a reprint of a 1950s Phantom Stranger story in it.
He's all about Phantom Stranger.
That's the main thing I collect is Phantom Stranger, and that's why I started getting into the foreign stuff, is because I have all the U.S. Phantom Strangers, and I had to start picking up some of the...
This is a Nordic country, Levingian. This is the Batman, is it Norway?
I think
or Danish?
So.
I forget. It's one of the Nordic countries.
Yeah.
This looks like one of the original covers they did too. This is not... This is one of the originals, right?
It's almost the same thing as the U.S. cover, but it was redone.
It was redone.
It was redone by a local artist.
Yeah, these are cool. They did that in Norway on occasion. This is an Aussie, Planet Comics.
Aussie, it's Justice League. I can't remember the issue number all of a sudden.
Yeah, the Super Adventure. I like these. Those are cool.
Phantom Stranger right on the cover. That's the...
Gigant. These are Swedish.
Couple of Superman books that I was given a long time ago, just because...
I believe these are... This is Italian, right?
Yeah, the one's Italian.
Yeah, that one's Italian. Oops. This one is Swedish. I know it's Swedish from the Gigant. Or at least I think so.
Yes. French.
Or is it French?
French.
Oh, that's French?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm thinking
couple more of the German actually I think those are Swedish.
Cider, yeah.
Because on the back cover it looks Swedish.
Yeah, I think those are Swedish.
And those were actually gifts to me a long time ago, and I never really dug into what they were. Here's another Australian, I think. Raven the Bold.
No, I think Murray's UK, isn't it? No.
I can't remember.
No, I think it's Aussie.
Pretty sure it's Aussie.
I think it's Aussie.
But it's the Sense era. Yeah, see. Here's
Aussie.
Here's that other version of the Justice League comic that I was talking about. And then this is one of my favorite Superman stories of all time, where he and the Earth 2 Lois Lane get married. The Earth 2 Superman and the Earth 2 Lois
Murray's
Lane.
Aussie.
And it's Action Comics, I think it's 484. And it's in black and white on the inside, yes.
Yeah, black and white.
And
Aussie.
It's just one of my favorite books of all time, so I had to get a copy of it once it was available. Then a very old copy of Century, issue number 2.
Yeah. Aussie as well, I believe, correct?
Yes, that one definitely is. These are German.
German soups. So James has really been enjoying the niche. He hits me up. I try to lead him in a good direction. Let's see those Filipinos.
You know what?
Are they downstairs?
Yeah, they're in the
Okay.
enough room.
So we know he never has enough room in here because the guy is a hardcore comic book collector. I mean, this is his office, and it's filled with comics, and that's why he had to go to the foreign niche. Because maybe he's getting a little bored from the American collecting stuff, which, it happens.
It's getting tough to be excited about the American comics with how much I have already.
Yeah.
And the few that I'm really looking for are getting really expensive.
Yeah.
The few that I'm hardcore looking for to finish off runs. I only need 4 issues from World's Finest. I need 5 issues out of Superboy to get back far enough to feel comfortable to where I can just say stop, but the rest are too expensive.
Yeah.
more fun. I have 102 through 107, the Superboy issues, except for 104. I can't find a 104 at all. It's been really difficult. And 101 I can't afford for Superboy.
Yeah.
I've switched to buying old adventure comics when I can find them, just for the Superboy stuff. And, and so I thought, I have everything that the Phantom Stranger's been in for the U.S.
Yeah.
And he's my favorite character of all time. So I thought, well, what about some of the foreign ones?
And that's
how I really got into the foreign stuff.
That's what it is.
Just recently, I picked up some
Filipinos, and these are Filipinos. If you don't know, are some of the rarest Marvel and DC Bronze Age books, and Copper actually, that are out there. And these copies came from a guy that we knew. His name was Terry. And he was selling them through my comic shop, and a lot of them have been sitting there for a while. And I had told James how rare these were, especially in decent conditions.
Four of those came from my comic shop. Three of them came from...
one of our buddies in the Philippines.
Yeah.
What was his name?
You ask me questions and my brain just goes blank.
Was it Aldi? Was it Alf? Was it Alf Longoria? One of our Filipino friends.
I feel so bad I can't remember his name. He was so nice, and he had these in stock, and it was a really easy transaction. And I'm really sorry. I'm just blanking on your name right now. It's not that I don't appreciate what you did for me. I'm sorry. I just can't remember your name.
But the Filipinos, we have a couple Filipino friends from the Philippines. Aldi Reyes, Alf Longoria. There's a bunch. And I'm drawing a blank too on my good contact buddy. God darn it, I keep blanking on his name. One of the issues in this niche is that we have so many contacts all over the world that sometimes it's hard to keep track of them. It happens. But anyway, so he picked up some Phantom Strangers through my comic shop and through our Filipino contact. This is a cool one, 35. These are all national bookstores. This one does have the price written up in there. Remember, the Filipino DCs have blank circles. When they move over into the different formats, different cover formats, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference with this as an American. The only difference is there is no price in there. It's just white, just stripped.
And some of them have a black bar, and some of them have
some of them have a black bar, and some of them have a white bar. This is one that he has too. That's a black bar one. This is a Phantom Stranger, 39, I believe. Yeah. This one's beautiful.
There's actually 2 copies of 39 in that.
This one's beautiful. This is a 24. This is what we call a virgin. And the reason we call it that is because the circles never got hit by a stamp. In the Philippines, they would hit them with stamps or price stickers or whatever. This one never got hit. It looked like it got a little bit of a price written in there, but it didn't. But it looked like kind of a pen. This is a beautiful cover right here. 25, Phantom Stranger. This is a true virgin. It doesn't have anything written in the white circle. Okay? And this one right here is not an example of that. You will see the Filipino pricing stamped on the interior on that book. And having any group of Filipino books is a big deal because of their rarity. And I explained that to James, and so he went ahead and pulled the trigger and bought them.
Yeah.
And those are awesome. Were there any others you wanted to highlight?
Honestly,
Hopalong Cassidy's are pretty rare Navarros. That is a cool book. There's some really rare Navarro Hopalong Cassidys. Of course, the All-Star Western 10 is in there. We've only seen examples of 3 All-Star Western 10s.
That's a hard book to get in the U.S. anyway.
In the U.S., much less in Mexico.
The printing paper, the paper that was used between the covers is so bad that the pages sometimes just dissolve. And the cover, all you have left is the cover. I've seen a couple like that.
Wow.
And you think you have this great book, and you open it up, and there's nothing. or there's just a little, there's like half a page all the way through the book,
Wow.
just gone. And I'd be willing to bet that the Mexican copies hold up a lot better than the U.S.
some of the
copies.
Americans.
It's just that there's just not very many of them.
Yeah.
Period.
Let's look at that Spanish. So for a second, I wanna
Which-
look at the Spanish in detail.
Okay, so this is a cool one.
This one's not exactly a rare book in general. It's Green Lantern 76, but it's the Spanish language version, and this particular one has the price in pesetas as well as down in Mexican pesos. But the fact that it has the pesetas price means it's this one actually from Spain.
Yes.
The thing about them is nobody knows if they were actually printed in Mexico
Or Spain.
or if probably guessed actually in Spain. But this particular copy I was able to get signed by Neil Adams a few years ago when he came through town. And
Very nice.
And I bought this because I didn't think I'd ever have a U.S. copy. And shortly thereafter, I got my U.S. copy.
Nice.
So it never rains, it pours. You either have the greatest luck in finding what you're looking for, or you have the worst luck. And this is the only Neil Adams foreign language book that I've gotten, because since then I've been able to get the U.S. copies without a problem, except for a couple, and I'm almost done with the U.S. set of the Green Lanterns. I haven't decided if I was going to keep looking for any foreigns. The foreigns are mostly about the Phantom Strangers for me.
Yeah.
And
One of the nice things about this too, a lot of times people wonder, well, what's the difference? Remember that the Spanish Navarros are always going to have Revista Juvenil on it, along with the pesetas. This is a really cool book. Now, the Mexicans are rarer, but having this book in any decent condition is a big deal. At all.
Why is Hulk in there?
And then, really, the only other things I think might be of interest are these two South American Phantom Stranger books.
Nice.
This one, not in the greatest shape, but it came with this other one I'm going to show you they came out of Peru. And as far as I know, they're both the Mexican versions. They're not actually native to Peru. But I know that the Mexican issues were
Spread all throughout Latin America. Yep.
Central and South
There
America.
were Peruvian,
Except for some titles that were done specifically in countries.
Yes,
And I know
by
there's
in-country
Colombian versions
publishers.
of certain ones. There's Uruguayan, I believe, of certain things.
Peruvian.
Peru should have some. But
Argentinians.
this copy of this one, I believe it's Phantom Stranger 38. I'm not sure. It might be 40.
And notice the smaller size.
And it's a smaller size.
So
it's
this is the Aguila.
It's the eagle size.
Yep, it's the Aguila.
And right inside in the indicia it says Serie Aguila, and it has the eagle here above the price, but it's just in beautiful shape, and just in general you can see the difference in the shape, but you just don't find these books hardly saved at all. So I went ahead and grabbed both of them while I could, just because I may never see another copy of this one here in my left hand. And I might find more copies of the one on the right. I don't know. I honestly don't know, because I am relatively new to this, but I am looking for any foreign language Phantom Stranger books.
He's finding them too, and James is putting in work.
And that's my core collecting, is the Phantom Stranger, just because I have everything U.S. already, including the Golden Age books, which Tim already knows quite a bit about, and
Tim Bildhauser, he's a famous guy.
And if Mark Roman is watching this, he knows quite a bit about those Phantom Strangers as well, being the former rarity expert at CBCS and helping me get them all signed by Joe
Mark
Giella,
Roman is awesome.
And before having them slabbed and yellow labeled, and I think that's pretty much it for what I was thinking were pretty special, except for two other books, neither of which are part of my core collecting, but I couldn't resist either one at the time. These are Spanish pamphlet versions of the original Captain Marvel. I refuse to call him by what people call him today. That is not his name. He is Captain Marvel and always will be. But these stories were taken out of the original Captain Marvel Adventures and Wiz comics and then reproduced. The interiors are pure black and white, and they were reproduced in this pamphlet form. And it's just one story, and as you can see, it was just one peseta, brand new.
That's cheap, man.
I'm pretty. This is issue number 18. I'm pretty sure it's from the 40s. It's not in the greatest shape. It might be 50 or 51. I'm not 100% certain on the date. It's not listed anywhere in the book. There's nothing that says what year it was. I've been told there are some reprintings, but I believe that the prices went up because costs went up. So I think any other printings would have a higher price.
peseta.
And two.
Yeah,
or
we'll have to
three or
research
possibly
it.
4.
I know that the Italy did some reprints of some earlier 40s and 50s Supermans and stuff, but with Spain, I don't know. I do know that there are some Spanish collectors we can ask, but I have a funny feeling that's original. I don't think that's a later reprint.
Right. Yeah, a little less glare maybe.
Yeah, that's better.
And
I don't think that's normal.
I found one website, I can't remember off the top of my head, that catalogs all of these different
Tebo
templates.
Safira.
I don't
Tebo Safara.
Right, and that sounds really close if that's not exactly it, but I believe there were 50 some odd total that were printed eventually before the company went out of business.
Nice.
They eventually did go out of business, but they printed up almost everything in Spain for a number of years. If it wasn't by them, it wasn't actually Spanish. Even if
Nice.
it might have been for the Spanish market, it wasn't actually Spanish. And then I know that a version of what I like to call Spanish eBay, it's not actually eBay for Spain.
There is a Spanish eBay, but
right,
this is not
right.
that.
It's Toda Colección. I have seen several of these for sale there, along with some other books that I'd like to eventually get, but I can never find 2 or more from the same seller. And shipping across the Atlantic Ocean is expensive.
Yeah.
So I'd like to try and get 3, 4, even 5 from the same seller if possible.
Yeah, get them all shipped.
This is the only one of these that I have. And then the other book, the last book here that I'm sitting on, might thrill some people more than others. It is a Marvel book, and I am not a huge Marvel collector, but I saw this. I actually got this out of a Facebook auction,
Nice.
and I saw it, and I had to try and get it. It's the Mexican Daredevil, old style La Prensa, issue 67. First Mexican printing of it. Original price of
120 pesos.
1 peso 20 centavos, and it's just in beautiful
Yeah,
shape.
that is beautiful shape. Look at the black.
The black,
black
except
looks
for just a
great.
little bit in the corners. And I got this from the original owner.
Nice.
He I don't remember. I think he said he was around 5 when he moved to Arizona.
From Mexico?
From Mexico, and he had been slowly selling off his comics, and this was the only one of the 5 or 6 that he had that I had been able to buy. The others were all grabbed by one person.
Who?
I'm not saying none of us. There's somebody that isn't part of our group, part of the foreign groups.
Oh.
I believe it's a woman. Bought the 4 or 5 that were listed in one Facebook listing, outbid me on every single one.
Oh, shit.
And then this one was posted in a separate Facebook listing later, and she did not get in any bids on that one. So I got it for a steal.
Beautiful La
According
Prenzas are
to
something of beauty.
According to most people, and I couldn't resist. I had to have
Yeah.
it.
La Prenzas are special
Especially in this kind of shape.
Yeah, amongst Marvel collectors, that collect foreigns, Leprenzas are definitely something special.
Yeah, the corners are really the only thing wrong with the book.
Might be a slabbing candidate. Who knows?
It's possible. The corners are just, and for a Leprensa, obviously it's in great shape.
Yeah.
I still have a problem with the whole
Condition.
collector mindset from American comics, because you can find beautiful condition books in the nines without not without a problem if you've got the money.
If you've got the money, you can find them.
It's a lot more money than it used to be, but it used to be really a lot easier to find high grade U.S. stuff. So to me, this isn't necessarily a slab candidate from the U.S. standpoint.
But from
and I'm still working on it. I'm still trying to work on that.
That's high grade from a
Yes.
Mexican perspective.
And that's what I keep hearing,
Yes.
and that's one reason why I've been keeping it in a top loader.
That's
not
a beautiful book.
Just a loose thing. But
Okay.
That's pretty much the last one that I really wanted to highlight.
That's a beautiful book.
If anybody out there has any foreign language Phantom Stranger books specifically,
Hit up James.
even if he just appears in the book, I'm willing to do that, because I have bought all of the U.S. books. There's is it Detective 447, the Reaper cover, the Bronze Age Reaper cover. I believe the Phantom Stranger appears on page 2 or page 4 in the background of one panel, because he was supposed to have been used in the story and then he got cut. But he never
There's a Filipino of that
never
book.
got dropped out of that panel.
There's a Filipino of that book.
Oh, that's what I needed to hear.
I've got one.
Oh, of course you do. And but stuff like that, even one of the issues of Hawk and Dove, issue number 1 from one of their multiple volumes. I think the 1980s one by McFarlane. No, Liefeld. I think it's Liefeld. Has him in a cameo in one scene. The Justice League. They actually went to the Justice League for help, and his head is just in a computer on a membership list of who's busy and who isn't.
So you gotta have it.
And I had to have that book just because of that. But I have other cameos where he just is in the background somewhere. He doesn't say a word. I've got, as far as I know, I have every U.S. book where he
exists.
And I was just at a point where I needed more. And I was originally just looking for the 1950s Phantom Stranger stories, but it's just so hard to figure that out and track them down. And so I switched to anything.
Foreigns.
Bronze Age. But yeah, no, I mean the foreigns with those 1950 stories. I found out about a bunch of Australians that have them. But there's not very many here and there. I've got the 3 Germans that I know of. Horror. The title is just horror.
There's more. I think there's more. We just
I'm
need
sure
to.
there's
We need
more.
to. We need to research it.
Oh yeah,
But-
plenty of research.
But James, thank
Too
you
much
so
research.
much. Hold on one second.
Okay, so this is our interview with James Zieff. He's I would say second generation foreign collector. We found him on Facebook, and I'd like to thank James for taking me around today. That was a blast. Even though we didn't have the best of luck finding a whole lot of foreign's.
Only got to 2 stores, and there's a lot
There's
more.
a lot
in
more
Denver.
stores, but I think you're right. I'm not going to find much here. He was telling me stories of store owners that were literally throwing foreigns away. It's mind blowing. I actually went to a store where a guy said, "Why would you want those?
Yeah.
Why would I want to keep those?" So the struggle is real, but forward-thinking collectors like James are part of our community, and we are going to, we're ahead of the curve. I hate to say it, but we're ahead of the curve. What you doing down there, boy? Oh, my son, Sebi, we're here in Denver. Sebi's going to school at Denver University. He's only 9 years old. But James, I'd like to thank you for hosting me.
Yeah. Of course.
This was really awesome. This was really fun. FCC out. Define 999 out.